Hello and welcome back to the Fit Life Orange County podcast. My name is Jake Stewart and I am your host. Today I have the awesome opportunity to sit down with Shelby Mocnik. She is a super awesome bootcamp member who just got married, and she tells her story about getting fit for her wedding. So without further ado, let's get into it.
Here is Bryce Henson and Jake Stewart, your host of the Fit Life Orange County.
Welcome to the show, everybody. Today, I have the awesome pleasure of sitting down with my buddy, my good friend, Shelby Mocnik is in the house today. Shelby, how are you doing?
I am so good. How are you doing?
I'm doing fantastic. Thank you so much for taking the time to come sit down with us and tell everybody your story. I'm super excited to kind of get into it. But before we get into it, let's just get a little intro, a little background on you. Obviously, I've been close with you for the past year or so, but everybody sitting at home, they probably don't know who you are. So just give us a little basic intro, kind of who you are, and then we'll go from there.
All right. So, like you said, my name is Shelby, and I work in insurance. So, very interesting fact about me. Every time I say that, is like, oh, like they don't want to hear about it because it sounds like the least fun thing that you could possibly do. But I love what I do. I feel like I make a difference in my clients' lives, which is pretty cool. Just making sure that they always have somebody to fall back on, and I'm that person that they call if something bad happens, if something good happens. So just kind of getting to be there for them, see their journey as they grow as businesses. So I love what I get to do. I just got married last month.
Congratulations
as you
again,
know,
yes.
My wedding buddy. And it was an amazing experience, but that's kind of how I started my fitness journey. Is initially when I started, it was, I wanted to look great in the wedding dress. I wanted to feel confident, wanted to lose weight. And so that's actually how I found Bootcamp, was just kind of searching online and trying to find something that actually worked is kind of what I was looking for, because things I tried in the past hadn't necessarily worked.
Totally. Yeah, so there's a lot to unpack there, and it's a really great story that I know that we're gonna kind of weave our way through. But before we get too far into it, just kind of tell me a little bit about what fitness has looked like for you in the past. So what were some things that maybe you tried? Did you play sports growing up? Just kind of give us like a little bit of background on like what your fitness has looked like.
Yes, I played sports. I wasn't good at them, but I played them. So I played softball for probably up until I was 13 or 14. I was always the last person at bat. I was the worst player. I mean, you know how they always say like the worst player on the team is like that's how the team is going to be. It's like your weakest player. It was me. And I will own that fully. I tried my best, and it wasn't my thing. I was more inclined toward music, so struggled with sports, but I was always really tiny as a kid. I was born about 4.5 weeks premature, so I was always really little. And so not really good at sports, but didn't really have to work hard as a kid or as a young adult to be fit. I started kind of going to the gym just because my friends did, and it was kind of that, go to the kind of big box gyms. And I had found that when I would go to work out at those gyms, I would go in and I would see all these people who knew what they were doing, and they were at the weight machines and they were doing all these things. I had no idea how to even get onto the machines. So I kind of would just gravitate toward the treadmill or the elliptical because it was my comfort zone. So I did end up getting a personal trainer for a little bit. Kind of as I was training I initially thought that I wanted to be a police officer. So kind of training toward police academy stuff. So I got a trainer, learned a little bit, got into really good shape. But when I was kind of applying for that, I got through everything on the physical test until the dummy drag. And we learned that nobody had ever taught me how to lift. So I actually injured my back a little bit at that time. And I totally recovered, but it was, it sucked because that was the reason that I didn't get in. And at the time that was devastating because it was what I thought I wanted to do with my life. But it ended up being the best thing that could have happened because that wasn't my path. And I kind of found out through getting this other job, like, no, this actually is the way I'm going to make a difference. So kind of just going to the big box gyms and not really seeing it help at all, not having that relationship with people. And it wasn't working for me.
Definitely. Well, you talked about something that's super duper common, and I know a lot of people that are at home watching this probably feel the same way. You said that when you're in the big box gyms or you're in any other gyms, you feel like intimidated. You see other people that know exactly what they're doing, and I know at face value that could seem scary for sure, and like it always feels weird being the one person that doesn't know exactly what's going on.
Yep.
A lot of people feel that way, but I'm curious. So now that you've been at boot camp for over a year, has there ever been that feeling like, well, you're here? Let's hear a little bit about your boot camp story. So I'm very curious to hear.
So it's actually really funny. So I joined boot camp with kind of my sole intent at the time. I knew I had a little bit of weight that I wanted to lose, but it was more I wanted to look good for the wedding. And I went in and my mindset was I wanted this huge physical transformation. And I don't know if that was necessarily realistic to have this huge, I had some weight to lose, but not a ton. And I kind of had this mindset that I would walk out as a different person. So I joined boot camp, and immediately I make all these friends, and I have this kind of level of consistency that I've never had before. And kind of over the months, I started to see my mindset change a little bit. And I think it used to be, or no, yeah, it is on the wall still, but basically my mindset shifted from skinny to strong is what it was. So initially it was, I want to lose all this weight, and my goals were all around that. And all of a sudden I started gaining strength, and I started challenging myself to do pull-ups. And that was kind of like my big thing that I had been doing was after every workout, I would go and I would just attempt a pull-up, and we're almost there. We can do it with a very small resistance band now. And it was definitely, I was humbled. It was harder than I thought, but my goals shifted from the being skinny to being strong.
Definitely. Yeah, which is a great mindset shift, because a lot of people, and especially women in our society, they focus so much on the number that's on the scale. So they don't ever look past that. They think, my life would be so much better if I could just weigh 135 pounds, or if I could just weigh 150 pounds, or I could just weigh whatever it is. And all they do is they get that mindset down. But when you start looking past that, and you start taking an in-body scan, or you start taking a body fat analysis, and you learn that's hey, I lost 5 pounds of body fat and I gained 5 pounds of muscle. Yep. You weigh exactly the same as you did before, because the age-old adage of muscle weighs more than fat is BS. Mm-hmm. A pound of muscle and a pound of fat weigh exactly the same, but a pound of muscle takes up a lot less room than a pound of fat. So if you're gaining a couple pounds of muscle and you're losing a couple pounds of fat, you're going to be the same weight overall, but you're going to look and feel a lot different. You're going to feel a lot stronger. And you touched on something just a little bit, but I want to get a little bit more in depth. Tell us a little bit about this pull-up journey, because you were an absolute beast getting after it every single day. So I want the audience to hear this story.
Okay, so the reason I started was because I felt a little bit like I was losing steam. So, I was going every day. I was taking kind of a selfie every day of me going to the gym and doing all these things and working out at boot camp. But I kind of started to lose that initial excitement, which, I had seen. I feel like it happens to everybody. You get that motivation, it peaks, and it starts to go down a little bit. And so I told myself, you know what, I know myself, and I need another kind of short-term goal, because I still have the long goal, but I want to have this short-term goal. And so one day, I think I walked up to you or to Coach John, and I said, I want to do a pull-up. I don't know why, but I want to do a pull-up. I've never been able to do one. How do I get there? And you guys were great. You said, you know what, start out just hanging on the bar. So we took kind of a progress picture every day. Mm-hmm. So I would hang on the bar, and I would hang on for my life. And the first probably 2 weeks, that was it. I couldn't really do more than that. And that's when I realized this is actually going to take a lot more than I expected. So we started using the kind of thicker resistance bands. And every day after my workout, I would just try, and I would try and get up to 10 with the resistance band, and then I'd move on to a smaller one. And it took a series of months, I would say, even just to go between the bands. It was tougher than I thought it would be, but it was funny because I had this goal of losing weight, and all of a sudden it was kind of happening organically, but people started complimenting my muscles. And that was kind of the shift for me when, I tried on my wedding dress last year, and somebody said, "Oh my gosh, your back looks amazing." And that kind of was the turning point for me, where I realized, you know what, I think I kind of had this a little bit backwards. And my excitement started being more toward gaining muscle, and it was more toward hitting these goals. And even now, I still go to the gym, but I know what I'm doing a little bit more, and I have that confidence. And now the excitement's not just, I ran this much on the treadmill. It's, I was able to squat 150, and that kind of excitement. So it was a huge shift.
That's awesome. Well, kudos to you. I just want the audience to know, when she said she was doing pull-ups after every single workout, she means it. She kept track of it diligently every single day. She made a post about it to keep herself accountable. So I just want to say kudos to you. And I can also verify that her back did look awesome in her wedding dress. She was just showing me her wedding pictures just yesterday or a couple days ago. Did look super duper awesome. So that's definitely something that's always great to hear too, when other people notice your fitness transformation. Because sometimes it's hard for yourself to realize it, because you see yourself in the mirror every day. You see yourself in pictures all the time. Sometimes you don't really see it. And sometimes all it takes is just that one person to unprovoked say, "Hey, Shelby, you look great. Hey, your back's looking good. Hey, I can see your muscles." Hey, that is really what kind of switches the shift, does it not?
100%. Yeah. And it was really cool, because I feel like that was kind of my metric of success. It wasn't just, me getting on the scale. I probably haven't gotten on the scale in months, because I found that for me it wasn't healthy, just because at first I had so much value attributed to the scale. And I realized, that it wasn't making me happy. It wasn't serving me. And what was serving me was finding the muscle growth and being able to do something new. I mean, when I started boot camp, and it sounds crazy, but I couldn't even do a sit-up by myself. You know, I didn't have the strength. And so now to be able to do, 30 to 40 to 50 consecutively, I mean, I started assigning success differently. And I think that was a huge part of the shift.
Totally. And that's something I always like to say to all our bootcamp members and everybody pretty much that I come across is to stop worrying so much about one measurable, worry about the other measurable. So yeah, you can measure your body weight, and that's something that a lot of people get ingrained in their head and they are always thinking about it. It's always on the mind, but there's plenty of other measurables that are out there. So like you just said, like, hey, how about were you able to do 5 push-ups a couple weeks ago, and now can you do 5 push-ups? That's a measurable.
Yep.
Hey, you can literally get a tape measure and measure your waist and see like, hey, my waist is at half an inch smaller than it was the week before. Hey, maybe it's a couple inches down. That's a measurable. So things like that are also measurable. It's not just your body weight, and that's what everybody gets so like hard pressed on. And what I always try to say is like, hey, focus on the other measurables.
Coach Bryce here. Now, you might know me as the co-host of this podcast and the owner of Mission Viejo Fit Body. But what many people don't know is that began my fitness journey as a fitness transformation. Now, you see, circuit training and nutrition coaching absolutely changed my life after being overweight with a diet of mainly fast food in my late teens. Now, upon my fitness transformation in early 2007, yes, I gained a much better physique as I was overweight and I lacked lean muscle. But way more than burning fat and building lean muscle, I increased my self-confidence, my energy, and my vibrancy to live life on life's terms. Now, it's for these reasons that many people join our boot camp. Now, in fact, with our Ultimate Transformation Program, we guarantee, yes, guarantee, that you'll lose at least 10 pounds within 6 weeks, or your program is free until you do. Now, go ahead and visit our website at missionviejofitbody.com. Now, thanks, and back to the show.
But yeah, so we got to talk a little bit about like the physical stuff at boot camp, but I want to talk a little bit more about the other stuff. So I know you've made like a bunch of friends at boot camp. I know you always have a great time. Your smile is infectious when you're in here. Tell us a little bit more about just like the experience of coming in and kind of what a workout or a week of workouts kind of look like. You know? Yeah.
So initially, when I was kind of in wedding mode, my mindset was I really wanted to get 3 to 4 times a week at minimum. I was really kind of drilling down on it, but yeah, it's basically you come in and everyone, y'all knew my name within probably a day, which was like, I don't know how you did that because I could never. But, everybody knows you. You come in, everyone's happy to see you. I love that you have people from all walks of life. So you have older, you have younger, every kind of step on the fitness journey. So there's just always somebody who understands what you're going through. I immediately made friends, which was kind of crazy. And it was Patty.
Yes,
Shout out
of course.
to Patty.
Yeah, we all love Patty.
She was the first one who kind of talked to me, and she saw me kind of by myself and didn't really know what to do, where to go. And she said, hey, come work out with us. And we still work out together.
Totally.
Sometimes in the morning, sometimes in the afternoon. But it was really, the hardest part was just starting and showing up. And as soon as you walk through the doors and you show up, the rest, honestly, it's easy because it's a battle with you and yourself. And it's just get up, get out there and work out. And for those, 30, 45 minutes, the only thing that I am focusing on is myself and my workout. So it's kind of just this time for myself where, sometimes I'll go in between things I'm doing for work. And it's just this time where I can settle down, get a clear mind. And probably 99% of the time, I come back more productive when I go back to work.
Totally. Yeah, and now that you bring up work, so I know you have a super busy work schedule.
Yes.
So talk me through like a lot of people's biggest excuse, of like why they can't get into shape or why they can't get into fitness is, Coach Jake, I don't have enough time to do it. I can't find the time. I work a 10-hour day or I work an 11-hour day or whatever it is. I'm always really busy. I have kids. I have this. I have that. Talk a little bit. I know you have a super busy schedule. So like, how do you make it work?
Yeah, that was my excuse too. My excuse was I don't have the time. I am busy. But what I liked about boot camp is you have different time slots that you can go. So, for me, I remember what could be productive for me is, let me go to the 6:15 a.m. You couldn't pay me. You could not pay me. I'm a night owl. I can't do that early. So, I did some afternoon workouts, and I love the afternoon workouts. And it's funny because I get a different workout in the afternoon than I do in the morning. And there are some days where I need that to decompress. I've had a day of, got yelled at a little bit today at work, and I got to work it out in the afternoon. Or there's I really want to kickstart my day. I get some stuff done in the morning and I come to the 8:15 and I go back to work and I'm a machine, super productive. So there's time for everybody. And I really like that it's just, you have to want to make the time. And that was, it was tough at first. What do they say? It takes 30 days to build a habit?
It takes 90 days to build a habit. It takes 1 second to break that habit.
Yep.
So
a lot of it is just making that habit and forcing yourself to get up. And it's hard. It's even just after the honeymoon.
Totally.
Getting back up and going. The hardest part is just, like I said, coming through the doors.
Yep.
You know?
Something the reference I always like to make is that sometimes the heaviest weight in the gym is the front door.
Yes.
It's pulling on that front door to get yourself in. Once you're in, it's magic time. You're here to have some fun, pump up the music, have some good time, have some laughs, have some fun with your friends, and get a good workout in the process. So that's really, really great. But now that we've covered all the physical stuff, I'm curious like what your diet has looked like, because that's another thing people really struggle with,
Yeah.
especially busy people with with crazy jobs that have crazy hours. I can't tell you the amount of times I hear, Jake, I got to go to Taco Bell because that's the only thing that's on my way to work. Or, hey, Jake, like I didn't eat at all today because I didn't have any time. How do you make it work? So I know that you've kind of changed your eating habits. So like kind of walk us through that and kind of what it looks like and maybe some helpful tips and tricks for anybody that's in the same situation that you're in with busy work life.
Yeah, so I was one of those people who made a ton of excuses about it because I don't have the time. My husband now, he's a mechanic, so he works long days. So the reality is we don't have a lot of time to grocery shop, to cook dinner on all these things. And so we had to find creative ways. So it started out with him a little bit smaller. It was just kind of, okay, well, instead of going to Taco Bell, because he's a fan of the Taco Bell, and there's unfortunately the McDonald's and Taco Bell right by his work, it was, why don't we plan his lunches? And even if it's something as small as let's make a whole grain sandwich, and just we started out small, and it was kind of so we could modify portions, so we started out with that. And then he was saying, well, I'm still hungry. And I said, okay, well, it sounds like to me you need more protein, because that was a big thing that we had talked about was a lot of times like I'm hungry because I'm eating things that aren't filling me up. It's not protein. It's not what I actually need. So we started buying, protein shakes, and that became just a normal part of our day. So kind of the first thing I do is I have my protein shake, and I was on kind of the intermittent fasting train for a while, and I know it works for a lot of people. It worked well for me, but I kind of started to learn, what, I need to start eating earlier. I'm not getting enough nutrition. So I have my protein shake in the morning, do something quick for lunch, and what has really helped us is the meal prep in the evenings. So we used to do just kind of, we would meal prep for 5 days, and by day 2, we were so sick of the food that we were making. It didn't work for us. Some people can do that. We're adventurous eaters, we can't. So we actually started with one of the companies that kind of ships the ingredients to you. And literally all I have to do is open the bag and cook it, and it takes maybe 30, 45 minutes.
That's awesome.
And my whole thing was, okay, that 30, 45 minutes, I would either be at the grocery store or I would be out going to get food. It's the exact same thing. So that has saved us a lot, and we have a lot more control of what we're eating. We can make substitutions. We notice a lot of their recipes use a ton of oil. We were able to substitute out for just avocado oil or do all these different things that work for us.